Welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me, here for our Week 2 NFL picks against the spread and the totals. Just a fair warning, like I do every video, the NFL is hard to beat. It is going to be incredibly difficult for me to come out ahead on this series. I'm just being completely honest with you, but week to week, I want to find you spots that I believe have value and hopefully win those more often than not. I'm not going to force picks, which is why I color code them. Red means no confidence, yellow, medium confidence, and green, I think, is a good bet. And as always, use not only what I am providing you, but also use yourself. Don't just blindly trust a guy you find on YouTube. No matter how much he says he's up, no matter how many units he's won, you are always the best person to spend your money the way you want to. So please don't take me blindly unless it's worked out and you're okay with it if we lose. Like I said, guys, I track every single play, and we'll do that all season. I will always be transparent and honest with you about how we do, and I like to rank them based on how I feel in terms of the value that the bet offers. After week 1, I think we're doing okay. I would have liked to obviously win my green plays more than my red. My non-confident spread picks went 3-0. Naturally, my medium confidence went 3-5, which is not great. I split on my sort of highest confidence, and our absolute best bets of the week for spreads went 2-0. So that is what I care about. That is what I'm happy with. As far as totals, about 50% across the board. So overall, we hit 60% of our spread picks and 53% of our total picks, which is fine, all right? The main thing I care about is this pink right here. Let's get into it. Thursday night, we have a divisional matchup in the AFC East. We have the Bills going to Miami. I think the Bills and the Dolphins both had some adversity in week 1 that they had to overcome. Both of them mounted some sort of a comeback and were victorious. I think the Bills, though, have a little bit more to prove, and so that is why I'm on their side of plus 2.5. Obviously, I'd like the field goal plus 3, but I don't think we're going to get it. In fact, I think if this moves any way, it's going to trickle down to that 1.5, especially because the Miami Dolphins are looking to be missing 1 or 2 running backs. Both were questionable for this week, and with what we saw with Christian McCaffrey on Monday night. There's a lot of speculation and conversation going around. So watch that. I just trust the Bills offense, more than I trust the Jaguars offense, which put up 14 points on Miami in the first half and then couldn't do much in the second half. So I think because this is a divisional game, I like the under, but these are two offenses that can score at will, so I'm not confident on it, but I would go with under 48.5 and Bills plus 2.5 if I had to pick a side in this Thursday. Moving on to Sunday at 1. The Saints put up the most points in week 1, which is not something I expected with Derek Carr leading the team. However, they're not playing the Panthers defense this week, and the Panthers defense, as we saw, was pretty pathetic. I also think the Saints score is inflated by the fact that they won the turnover battle and the field position battle. 4 of their 9 scores started in Carolina's half. Yes, they scored 9 times in that game, including field goals and touchdowns, but 4 of them happened because they were starting inside the 50-yard line of their opponent. So I don't think that's going to happen with the Dallas Cowboys. Simply, I just don't. Dak has been dominant at home his whole career. I think this is Dak's year. This is his best shot at MVP. I've said that multiple times on this channel. I'm going to keep saying it. I think their defense is legit. They only allowed 3 points at the half to Cleveland, which could say more about Cleveland than it is Dallas. If this is 5.5, I think it's yellow or green. 6.5 does scare me just because of what could happen late in the fourth quarter, but I do expect Dallas to win. I expect this to be defensively dominated, and I do like the under 46.5, but that makes me nervous. I realize these are both red. I would say the spread I have more confidence in than the total, although I have no confidence in either, but if this was a point or 2 lower, I would have more confidence. Seattle travels to New England across the entire nation, and the Patriots are getting 3.5 after they just went on the road and handed the Bengals a very embarrassing and somewhat shocking loss. The total is set at 38. Seattle's defense looked phenomenal in week 1 versus Denver, but again, it's Bo Nix. It's a whole new offense. They lose Jerry Jeudy, so I don't know if that says anything about Seattle or about Denver, but I think Mike McDonald is going to do great things for this team as a defensive-minded coach, so I'll give credit to Seattle where it is due. Their offense struggled to get first downs and extend drives. Geno looked good at times. Kenneth Walker looked great at times. He goes down with sort of a hip injury, abdomen injury in the fourth quarter, says he'll be okay. I just think that the Patriots brought a little bit more to the table in week one than I was expecting them to bring. I think this will be a low-scoring, ugly game. The total opened at 41. It's all the way down to 38, and I think it's still probably too high. Seattle could put up 30 and just totally bust this open. But I think this 1 o'clock start on the East Coast is going to hurt them more than anything. So give me the Patriots and the plus 3.5 and the under in this one. This one is probably the one I'm most excited just to watch as a pure football fan. Buccaneers and Detroit, two teams that I expect to win their respective divisions. I've made comments about the Lions being Super Bowl ready. Even though on Sunday night they didn't appear quite there, I've made comments about Buccaneers winning that division because the Falcons are fraudulent, and so far so good. And you're giving me 7 points for the Buccaneers. It's a green bet. And maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I am being fooled. I know Washington is not good, but I think defense is going to be the determining factor in this, and I think the Buccaneers defense will bring what it needs to bring to Jared Goff. We saw him at times, again, struggle against the Rams, and the Rams made him make some poor decisions, some poor throws, and again, I thought this would be 3.5. If I'm being completely and utterly honest, I like to, I have a model I'm working on. I know it's hard to model the NFL because of the lack of data, the short season, etc. I have a model I'm working on. I also try to handicap games just based on observations. I had this closer to 3.5, 4.5. When I saw 7, it's shocking to me. I still love Detroit this year. They didn't run away with the game, with the Rams game. So, short week. They do get to stay at home, but I just think the Buccaneers is definitely the side with value here. Under 51.5 also, I think that total is set way too high. I know both of these teams scored a fair amount of points in week one, but I think this game will be won, like I said, with defense. And I think both teams know that coming in, and so there will be extra emphasis on not allowing some of these big plays to the big name wide receivers. So under 51.5 and plus 7. Game on Sunday. Obviously, Jordan Love is not going to be in this one. He is out for 4 weeks. At a minimum, Malik Willis gets the start. And guilty pleasure. I'm a Malik Willis guy. I think the guy can play, and I just don't think he's had the opportunity to do so. So maybe this is it. I think teams... here's what I'll tell you. I think the Packers need to emphasize what he can do well, which is get outside the pocket, move, make plays with his feet, keep the defense on their toes. If they do that, I don't necessarily love Colts -3. I don't know what they're going to do with Malik Willis. We've seen teams use him well. The Titans had a run there where they used him well, and they had a run where they used him completely poorly. I'm rooting for Malik Willis. I just don't know if either of these defenses can stop the other. That's why the 40.5 is an extra most bestest pick of the week. One of my 2 favorite plays on the entire slate. I thought this, again, would be closer to 47-48. I have this almost over a touchdown over. So maybe it's a trap, but, Colts allowed 29 points to Houston. Green Bay allowed 34 points to the Eagles. The Packers scored a ton of points last week and still lost. The Colts scored a ton of points last week and still lost. So we have 2 teams that scored a lot of points and a lot of points in week one, and the total's at 40.5. And I presume it's only because of Jordan Love's injury, which I don't think is that important to the spread, because Malik Willis, while he doesn't offer what Jordan Love does in the pocket, he offers something offensively to the game with his feet. We'll see if it comes true. So those are the plays. I like the over. Game on Sunday, 2 teams looking to bounce back, because both of them got embarrassed in different ways. I was celebrating Titans +4, okay? I was in the bathroom at halftime, and I looked at my phone, and I'm checking all the scores. I had all the games up anyway, Sunday ticket preview, and I'm like, man, I called that Titans +4. That was a great pick. It was a green pick last week. You go, green means go. You do your thing. I'm a fool. I'm a bloody fool. Lose the game by 7. Caleb Williams has 86 yards passing, and the Titans can't cover. Unbelievable. So, again, I have no confidence in either of these 2 teams right now. I'm just going to sit back and watch this game. These are the 2 picks I would be on if I had to make a play, but I will likely not be making a play on this game. Another Sunday at 1 o'clock, lots of games on the first slate. We have the Niners visiting the Vikings. Christian McCaffrey it's unlikely that he plays, especially on this short week. They have to travel to the East and it's a 1 o'clock start, which I've talked about before is not always easy for these West Coast teams. I would love to get Vikings +7 here. I would think there's some value at that number, but we have to accept 6.5, and I'm actually okay with 6.5. I know the Giants are bad, and the Vikings handled them, and that may not say anything about the Vikings, but I think this team does have potential. A lot of question marks with J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold. I think J.J. McCarthy opting for surgery and missing the year was the best thing that could have happened to Darnold, because he takes a breath and says, this is my team. I can do what I can do. I don't think his situation in New York with the Jets was good. Who has his quarterback the Jets in the last decade and had success? Maybe Aaron Rodgers will be the first, but I think Sam Darnold is a legitimate player. I know he's had other chances with other teams and hasn't done his thing, but I think he has weapons here, both with the running back and the wide receivers. So I think the Vikings could be a team that sneaks out 7 to 8 wins. And while I don't think they beat the 49ers, I think they definitely hang around. So I like under 45.5, not confident, because both these teams put up points week 1, and I like +6.5 a lot more than I like the total there. Another Sunday at 1. This game should be illegal to bet, but here we are. Washington showed me more in week 1, so I would take them on the spread, and I'd take the under. Yuck. All right, sorry, I'm not talking about that anymore. I believe this is the last Sunday at 1 o'clock game, and you see a mess here. I'm going to explain what this mess is. Right now, it's 6.5 is the spread. I have a feeling that this could hit 7 and possibly 7.5. Money comes in early, all right? Like, I get that. And I'm not going to sit here and say that the public can shift a line. Usually people say that the Sharps and the Sharks shift the line because they have the money. I just have a feeling that with the narrative that the Panthers set in week 1, getting absolutely dominated, with the Chargers being able to play good defense and hold off the Raiders, I think this goes over the key number of 7 by kickoff. So here's the play. If it is over 7.5 or 7 at kickoff, I'll take the Panthers. If it is 6.5 at kickoff, I'll take the Chargers. That's just how I feel about this one. So if it's +7, I'm on the Panthers. If it's -6.5, I'm on the Chargers. I think the over 38.5 is a good bet. I wasn't impressed with the offense the Chargers had in week 1, but they did run a ton and run well. The defense answered some questions, which is what I did have going into the season, but can they travel? My question is, are we getting too caught up in week 1 with the Panthers? Is this team really that bad? Probably, but I'm not ready to throw in the towel just yet. We'll see what happens in this game. This is just me covering my bases depending on what happens with the spread. It was not the last 1 o'clock game. This is. Holy smokes. I think this is. Yes, this should be. Browns and Jags. I think week 1 was more about Dallas than it was Cleveland. Cleveland did not look good, but I think Dallas's defense is going to sooner rather than later be discovered as elite, and people will realize that. Jaguars had a second half disaster on both sides of the ball. I expect this to be a sloppy game. I expect good field position. I kind of expect turnovers. And with those things comes points, easier points. I like the over 41.5. I think that's a pretty solid bet. I like the Browns +3.5. Browns keep it closer. In the first week, I think this is 2.5, 1.5. So I think there's value at 3.5 here. These would be my picks. Watch out for this one. I think it's just going to be a sneaky one. So just be on your toes. I'm done saying that's the last game at Sunday at 1 because this is another Sunday at 1. Ravens and Raiders. Okay, Ravens and Raiders. +9.5, biggest spread on the whole slate. We saw a team with a big spread last week win outright with the Patriots, but I don't have confidence in either of these. I think the Raiders need to open up the offense. They have weapons, and they just are choosing to play a little bit too vanilla. I think they need to take some shots and risk a little bit, and hopefully they will do that. But the problem is Baltimore may be able to run. Baltimore has probably the best rushing attack in terms of Henry and Lamar and what they can bring to a game. And the Raiders gave up 130 yards to J.K. Dobbins. So watch out. And that's kind of why I like the under. I think a lot of time will tick. I think a lot of possessions will be extended. That's why I'm on. Here we go, 4 o'clock. We finally made it. Rams +1.5, over 48.5. This might be the public side. I don't necessarily like to be on the side that the public is on, but I'm just confused at this line a little bit. It opened Rams -2.5. So this has moved 3 entire points because they announced that they're putting 2 linemen on IR and Puka will be out. He will also go on IR. So you have to think, what what value, like, does two linemen and Puka with a week's notice, a week to plan around that, does that move a spread 3 points? I don't think it is. If you pay attention to Monday night, Christian McCaffrey gets ruled out. The spread moves a half a point, if that. Okay, some shops didn't even move. You could argue that maybe they knew something. Jordan Mason knew he was starting Friday. That's a whole other can of worms. But I don't feel, and I could be wrong, that two linemen and Puka Nacua move a line 3 points. So I think the Rams have value at +1.5. I like the over. The Cardinals shocked me in week 1. They look better than I expected them to look, but I'm not convinced that this team is the full package due to their second half meltdown on defense. No value, no bet. This game's ugly. I fully expected, I predicted both of these two games, Steelers, Falcons, Denver, Seattle, I think right on both spreads and totals both times. So like, opponents from week 1. I feel good about the Falcons. I felt good about Seattle. I don't know how I feel about either of these two teams, independent of who they're playing, and they're playing each other. So these would be the sides I'm on. I'll have to wait and see. Not talking about it. Bengals, Chiefs. I'm typically not a Chiefs guy, outspoken on them. Think, they may get a little too much attention, but -5 is your second extra most bestest pick of the week. I'm shocked. I think Burrow is hurt. I think something is wrong. He's grabbing at his wrist on the sidelines, and people are going to say, well, he's embarrassed, and so why not blame something? I just don't know. I think there's too much of an uphill climb, and I think this team is mentally weak and vulnerable, which may be rude to say, but I just don't think they have a lot of guys on this team that can step up and kind of demand the locker room and say, we're going to fix this. I see it as a young, just kind of loose and team, all right, that has talent but can't quite get it together. I don't think T. Higgins plays, which hurts. I think Kansas City is going to lock in on Jamar Chase, and then good luck to everybody else, which is what we saw the Patriots do, and they had no success. The Chiefs, meanwhile, get a break. They play on Thursday. They get a little extra time. They get to watch the Bengals game. They, probably a lot of them watched it live. I don't think this is a team that's going to sleep on the Bengals because of a week 1 performance. They're going to come in. They're going to be ready. They're going to know that this game has playoff implications already in week 2. And I think another home game against a rival of sorts, who's licking their wounds, is a great spot. I think this is going to be a defensively dominated game again, and the Chiefs come out on top. I think it could get as ugly as like 28-12, something like that. So that's why it's an extra most bestest pick of the week. Sunday night, another game I'm excited for in terms of watching it, but not excited for in terms of betting it. I am just going to kind of assume that Houston is going to be on the side of a lot of shootouts this year. I just think that this offense will win them games and not necessarily their defense. I think the Texans have too many weapons in this one. That's why I like them at 6. I think the Bears do put up a fight, though, but they're going to need more from Caleb Williams. Debut game was less than desirable from many angles, so I think we get the over, and I think we get Houston -6, but I'm not confident in either of those. A game I'm excited to watch nonetheless. And finally, Monday night, quick plug. Every Monday, I do a promo preview where I walk through DraftKings, FanDuel, and ESPN Bet, talk about the promos they have for Monday night. ESPN Bet had a touchdown scorer promo, and I said Lazard, touchdown, +700. There's too much value there because of Mike Williams' limitations, and we cash. So make sure you stop by and watch that. Eagles -6.5, under 46.5. I think this is a good rebound game for the Eagles defense because of what they allowed Green Bay to do to them on offense. The Falcons don't possess that ability. I don't care what you say about Kirk Cousins and Bijan and Kyle Pitts and all the guys they have on paper. I have never seen them actually put it together in a game. So sorry. I think that's your place, right? Pittsburgh rushed for more yards than they threw against Atlanta, and Pittsburgh won by 8. How often does a team run for more yards than they throw and win by more than a touchdown? I would guess it's not a lot. And if Najee Harris is doing that, what is Saquon Barkley going to do? Okay, so there it is. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We're talking touchdowns. Huge thank you to you guys. I don't look at this number lightly, okay? 2.3 thousand views is massive for me in this channel. So thank you guys. Again, like I'm humbled, bottom of my heart. Like that means a lot to me. So I appreciate it. As you can see, the chart's filled out. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. What all of this means for touchdown scores. I'll give you some picks, and I forgot to put this on here. We were up like 4 units on our raw touchdown picks, no promo, so that feels good. Hopefully we can continue that. Stop in tomorrow. Make sure you comment down below if there's any extra most best picks you like. I'm gonna get a drink of water because my mouth is dry.